Have you ever sat quietly in your living room, maybe with a cup of tea in your hand, and suddenly felt that strange heaviness inside, that thought that somehow, somewhere along the way, life just kept moving while you stayed in the same place? Maybe you look at old friends, your adult children, or even people on TV talking about new chapters and wonder whether those chapters are only for younger folks. If you've ever caught yourself thinking you've missed your chance, or that the world is speeding ahead without you, I want you to know this: you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not stuck. A lot of people after 60, 70, even 80 feel this way. It's not because they've done something wrong. It's because life changes, sometimes faster than we expect, and it can make anyone feel like they've fallen behind. But here's the truth most people don't hear often enough: life doesn't keep score. There isn't some scoreboard in the sky tallying up who did what by a certain age. There isn't a finish line that closes after a certain birthday. You are still here, and as long as you're here, your story is still being written. And today, we're going to talk about how to keep writing it with hope, confidence, and maybe even a little excitement. In this video, we're going to have a heart-to-heart about what it really means to feel left behind, and how you can shift that feeling into something much more empowering. We'll talk about simple mindset shifts, practical steps you can take, and real examples that show it's never too late to begin again, try something new, reconnect with people, or finally do something you've always dreamed of. Because you deserve a life that still feels meaningful and truly yours, no matter what age is written on your driver's license. Let's start with something many people don't realize: feeling left behind usually comes from comparing your life to someone else's. And comparisons are sneaky. You might see an old friend traveling the world, or someone your age learning a new skill, or perhaps a neighbor spending weekends surrounded by family, and you wonder why your life doesn't look like that. But comparisons only show one tiny slice of someone's reality. You're comparing their highlight reel to your behind-the-scenes moments. And that isn't fair to you. You've lived through decades of experiences, good ones, painful ones, meaningful ones. Those experiences shaped who you are today, and none of them make you behind. They make you human. So instead of measuring yourself against someone else's timeline, try gently reminding yourself that your journey didn't end, it just took its own path. And that path can still open new doors, even now. One of the biggest shifts you can make, especially if you've been feeling stuck, is to reconnect with your sense of curiosity. Curiosity isn't only for children. In fact, adults who stay curious tend to feel more hopeful and more satisfied with life. Maybe it's been a long time since you've asked yourself what you actually want. Not what your family expects, not what society assumes, but what sparks a little interest inside you. Maybe you've always wanted to try painting, or write a story, or learn to play a musical instrument. Maybe you've dreamed of taking a short trip on your own, or joining a small community group, or even just making a small change to your daily routine, something that brings a bit of joy back into your days. It doesn't have to be big or dramatic. You don't need to climb mountains or run marathons. Sometimes the smallest new experience can make you feel alive again. I once spoke to a woman in her 70s who told me she felt like everyone had passed her by. Her children were grown and busy, many of her friends were far away, and she felt like her world had shrunk down to the walls of her house. She said she wanted to try something new but felt too old to start. You know what she eventually decided? She joined a local beginners gardening group. She'd never gardened before. She didn't know anything about soil, sunlight, or when to water plants. But she showed up anyway. And that simple choice, that one little seed of curiosity, grew into something wonderful. She made new friends, learned new skills, and discovered a passion she didn't even know she had. Her life didn't magically transform overnight, but it expanded just enough for her to feel like she was part of the world again. And it all started with that tiny curiosity. That brings us to another important point: you don't have to rush. At this stage of life, you get to move at your own pace. You don't have to perform or impress anyone. You don't have deadlines or pressure or the need to prove yourself. You can explore new experiences simply because they bring you joy or peace. And that freedom, the freedom to choose what truly matters to you, is a beautiful thing. Another feeling that often makes people feel left behind is the belief that everyone else has someone, whether it's a partner, friends, or a big family, and that they're the only one feeling lonely. But loneliness is far more common than people admit, especially after 60. The tricky part is that many people who feel lonely assume they're the only one, which keeps them quiet, and that silence keeps them isolated. But loneliness doesn't mean you're broken or destined to stay alone. It simply means you're human, and you need connection. And connection can be built at any age. Some of the strongest friendships are formed later in life because they're based on authenticity and shared understanding, not competition or convenience. If reaching out feels scary, that's completely normal. But even small steps, like chatting with a neighbor, saying hello to someone during a walk, or joining a simple class or group, can open doors to meaningful relationships. You might be surprised by how many people are waiting for someone else to make the first move. Little by little, as you reconnect with your curiosity, gently let go of comparisons, and open yourself to connection, something powerful begins to happen. You start to feel grounded again. You start to realize you are not behind at all, you are simply exactly where you are, with more life ahead of you than you may have thought. And that's where the next part naturally begins, because once you understand that your story is still unfolding, you can start exploring new ways to shape it with intention and hope. And feel that these insights are meaningful. Please type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to do so, and don't forget to turn on the bell, so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos designed to uplift, inform, and inspire. Your support truly means a lot. It's what keeps us going and allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, helpful content just for you. Now, let's continue this journey together. Once you begin to see that your life isn't measured by what others have done, something inside you starts to loosen. That tight feeling in your chest, the one that whispers, "It's too late," becomes just a little softer. And when it softens, even a little, you finally have room to breathe again, room to consider what else might be possible for you. One of the most overlooked truths about life after 60 is that your priorities shift in a way that actually gives you more control, not less. When you were younger, so much of your time was spent doing what you had to do, working, raising a family, caring for others, trying to hold everything together. But now, many of those responsibilities have changed or eased, and that opens a door to something most people never realize, the freedom to redesign your days in a way that fits who you are now, not who you used to be. A lot of people feel left behind because they're holding onto an old version of themselves, the person who had more energy, more clarity, more people around. But who you are today still matters. In fact, who you are today carries something younger people don't have yet: experience. Wisdom. A deeper understanding of what truly matters. And when you start making choices based on this version of yourself, instead of trying to be who you used to be, life becomes a lot lighter. Let's talk about something that helps with that shift, the idea of creating small moments of meaning throughout your day. You don't need a huge purpose or a huge mission to feel fulfilled. Most of the time, meaning is found in the little things. Maybe it's taking a slow walk in the morning and hearing the birds. Maybe it's preparing a simple meal you enjoy. Maybe it's calling someone you care about, even for just a few minutes. Or maybe it's taking 10 quiet minutes to sit with your thoughts and appreciate that you made it to another day. It might sound simple, almost too simple, but these moments anchor you. They give you a sense that your life has shape and rhythm again. They remind you that you're not just passing time, you're experiencing it. You're participating in your own life instead of feeling like a spectator watching from the sidelines. One man I spoke with once told me he felt like he didn't matter anymore. He said he spent his days in silence, barely speaking to anyone, and he felt invisible. When I asked him what he missed most, he said he missed feeling useful. Useful, such a powerful word. Many people feel left behind because they think they're no longer needed. But usefulness doesn't always mean doing something big. Sometimes, it's as simple as offering a kind word to someone, helping a neighbor with a small task, or sharing a story from your life that teaches someone something they didn't know. You'd be amazed how much your presence alone can mean to someone. He eventually started volunteering 1 day a week at a local library, shelving books and helping visitors find what they needed. It wasn't physically demanding, and it wasn't complicated, but it gave him something precious, a sense of purpose. A place where his time mattered. A place where he felt seen. And that feeling, even once a week, spilled into the rest of his life. He walked with a little more confidence. He smiled more. He felt like he belonged somewhere again. Belonging is such a powerful feeling, and yet it's something many people lose as they get older. But belonging isn't only found in big groups or loud gatherings. It can be found in small circles, quiet interactions, or shared interests. Sometimes, you discover community in places you least expect: a knitting class, a local park, a church group, an online forum, even a simple coffee shop where familiar faces show up at the same time each day. One of the easiest ways to rebuild a sense of belonging is by reconnecting with your natural strengths, the qualities that have always been part of who you are. Maybe you're a great listener. Maybe you're patient. Maybe you're someone who notices things others miss. These strengths don't disappear with age. If anything, they become sharper. And when you use them, even in small ways, you start to feel like yourself again. Another thing that can help ease the feeling of being left behind is understanding that life doesn't have to unfold in big leaps. Sometimes, progress is just taking the next small step. Not a giant step, just the next one. Maybe that next step is getting out of the house more often. Maybe it's starting a new hobby. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe it's simply deciding that today, you're going to try something a little bit different from yesterday. Small steps matter because they gently shift your momentum. You might not notice it right away, but over time, those small steps lead you somewhere new. And the beautiful thing is, you're in charge of what direction those steps take. You're not running a race. You're not catching up to anyone. You're simply choosing to move forward in a way that feels right for you. Sometimes, the hardest part is overcoming that quiet voice that says, "What's the point?" But there is a point. The point is your life, your well-being, your hope, your joy. The point is that you still deserve to wake up with something to look forward to. You still deserve to feel excited about small things. You still deserve a life that feels meaningful to you. And you certainly deserve to feel proud of how far you've come. Think about it. You've lived through challenges, losses, changes, and uncertainties. You've adapted, adjusted, and kept going even when life didn't make it easy. That resilience didn't disappear. It's still there, waiting to be used in new ways. As you continue exploring what makes you feel connected, purposeful, and hopeful, there's another layer to this journey, one that often brings people the most comfort once they discover it. It's the idea that your future doesn't have to look like your past for it to be meaningful. It can be completely different. It can be simpler, softer, or more playful. It can be filled with new experiences or shaped by familiar routines. It can be whatever makes you feel alive now, in this chapter of your life. And that thought naturally leads into the next part of our conversation, where the focus shifts toward embracing new possibilities and allowing yourself to rewrite what the next chapter of your life looks like. When you realize that your future doesn't need to resemble your past to be fulfilling, something inside you opens. You start to notice possibilities you may have overlooked before, and they don't feel as intimidating as they once did. They feel more like gentle invitations. Invitations to explore, to reconnect, to try, to hope. And when you accept even one of those invitations, you begin shaping a chapter of your life that's entirely your own, one built with intention rather than expectation. One of the most empowering things you can do at this stage of life is give yourself permission to start fresh. People often underestimate how freeing this can be. Starting fresh doesn't mean erasing everything that came before. It simply means you don't have to stay stuck in routines, thoughts, or situations that no longer bring you peace. You can choose a new direction at any moment, no matter how many years you've lived. I once knew a man in his early 80s who said he felt like his life had become too predictable. Every day felt the same, and he thought that was just how aging worked, like the script for his life had already been written. But one day, he sat down and asked himself a simple question: "What have I always wanted to do that I never let myself try?" His answer surprised him. He'd always wanted to learn photography. Not to become a professional or impress anyone, but simply because he loved capturing moments. So he bought a beginner's camera, watched a few tutorials, and started taking photos during his morning walks. He said it made him feel like he was seeing the world again, not just passing through it. And that little shift led to others, more walks, more conversations, more joy. You never know where one small spark of curiosity might lead. Sometimes, embracing this new chapter means letting go of old beliefs about what you should be doing. At a certain age, people expect you to slow down, stay quiet, or settle into the background. But you don't have to live according to anyone else's script. You get to decide what your days look like. You get to decide what you want to explore, who you want to spend time with, what brings meaning into your life now. For some people, this might mean deepening a spiritual practice or reconnecting with their faith. For others, it might mean joining a community group, learning a new skill, or finally tackling a long-held dream. It might mean making small adjustments, organizing your home to feel more peaceful, carving out time each morning for reflection, or learning a few new tricks on your phone or tablet so you can stay connected to the people you care about. Every small choice you make is a message to yourself that your life still matters, today, tomorrow, and the day after that. There is also something incredibly healing about giving yourself grace. You might look back on your life and think about the things you wish you'd done differently, choices you didn't make, dreams you didn't chase, opportunities you didn't take. But regret only weighs you down when you hold on to it. When you let it go, or even soften it, you make room for growth. You make room for joy. You make room for today. And today is what you have. This moment. This breath. This chance to choose something that feels right for you. The past is already written, but the future is completely open. You aren't too late, because too late is just an idea, not a truth. The truth is that you have more power than you realize. You have the power to shift your mindset, to reach out, to rebuild, to explore, to rediscover yourself. You have the power to live with intention, even in simple ways. One of the most beautiful things people discover later in life is that happiness doesn't have to look dramatic. It doesn't need to come from big achievements or grand adventures. It often comes from small things that make the heart feel warm, a good conversation, a cozy morning routine, a walk in fresh air, a hobby that keeps your hands busy and your mind calm, a moment of laughter that surprises you, or even just knowing you still have something to offer the world. And you do. You have so much to offer. Your experiences, your stories, your resilience, your humor, your wisdom, these are treasures younger generations need. Even if you don't realize it, someone out there could benefit from something you've learned over the years. Just speaking your truth or sharing something you've lived through might give someone else hope. Sometimes, simply being present in someone's life can make more of a difference than you'll ever know. As we come to the close of this conversation, I want you to remember something deeply. Feeling left behind doesn't mean you are left behind. It means you're ready for a shift, a new beginning, a fresh chapter that you get to define. Your story isn't over. Not even close. And if you take just one small step, one conversation, one moment of curiosity, one gentle decision to care for yourself, you can start building a life that feels meaningful again. You deserve joy. You deserve connection. You deserve purpose. You deserve mornings that feel hopeful and evenings that feel peaceful. You deserve a life that you wake up to with a soft smile, knowing there's still something good waiting for you. If any of this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts or your experiences. You can share them in the comments. Your story might inspire someone else who needs to hear it. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We talk about topics that matter, especially for those of us who've lived a little longer and learned a lot along the way. Here's to you, to your strength, your resilience, and your ability to begin again at any age. Here's to living your best life, not someday, but right now.